We are going to announce something really exciting
that will shake up the sustainability world.
Watch out for that 17-second countdown.
I'll see you there.
Save the date on November 7, 2020.
As we unveil something really exciting on SustainablePH.
Watch out for the 17-second countdown.
Do I envision a sustainable Philippines? Well, I think it all starts with a more conscious citizenry, where people are more conscious about how they eat, how they buy, and how nothing should go to waste. I think when we start with a mindset like that, then we can have a more sustainable Philippines.
A sustainable Philippines is our beloved country flourishing as God intended it to be. Its people are happy, content, progressive, and conscious of their responsibility as good citizens and consumers. Industries protect and respect their workers, as workers protect and respect their employers. Our natural resources are not abused by industry. Instead, they are used wisely and thoughtfully, and even protected so that future generations may have the benefit of enjoying an environment that is hospitable, healthy, lush, verdant and vibrant, with the flora and fauna that will set it apart from other Asian countries.
A country where individuals and organizations make intentional, responsible consumption and production every single time. Where all cities are sustainable and communities meet their own goals without compromising future generations to meet their own needs.
I hope and envision for a sustainable community, whereas people of our country share a common purpose, and that is to acknowledge our future without reducing the resources that maintain them. Let us continue to promote, educate, and share with everyone how to better understand and embrace a sustainable living.
I hope for a sustainable Philippines wherein everybody has jobs, there is no poverty, we have responsible government, there is clean environment, and everybody believes in God.
A sustainable Philippines is grounded on life-focused, Bible-centric values that transcends the future generations.
A sustainable Philippines fosters development through human perspective in rights reform, greener environmental considerations, agribusiness partnerships, and strengthens to empower the integrated ecosystem, making impact to the people.
Hello. I envision a sustainable Philippines where we have a clean environment, not only outdoors or in our cities, but also in our workplaces.
I am Gabby Avante, a biology sophomore from DLSC Manila, and I envision a Philippines that is aware, educated, and willing to take action to pursue a sustainable society for all.
Wow, that's exciting. Good evening to everyone out there in the Philippines.
Super excited.
We are live. And isn't it beautiful to listen to all those wonderful visions, how we want to see sustainability happens in our beloved Philippines? And I include myself. My name is Matthias. Yes. I am originally from a small barangay in Germany, but now I send my greetings from San Pablo City, Laguna. I'll be one of the 3 people hosting our launch tonight, and I will have the great pleasure of launching the Greenman show afterwards, so stay tuned in. And I will share with you what I think we can do to make our lives more sustainable, our communities, our organizations, and contribute overall to a sustainable Philippines. And the first thing I think you should do, Carlo, is go Calvo, because Calvo saves a lot of countries, a lot of water, a lot of time, a lot of money. So one of the special sustainability tips from the Greenman. All right, over to you, Ellen.
Yes. Hi, my name is Ellen Siu. I'm one of the co-hosts of Sustainable Lifestyle in Sustainable PH, where we, in our show, we actually showcase different people, company, and events, and pretty much interview everything related to sustainable lifestyle. Over to you, Karlo.
Thank you, Ellen. Yeah, my name is Karlo. I am a businessman. I am also very active in church. I am a minister, and I am so proud to be part of Sustainable PH. This NGO that has grown, and we're so excited for this launching. It is now a band, a group of. It has become a community of volunteers, and our advocacy is to communicate, to transfer the values of sustainability to the society. We look forward to a Philippines wherein not only the economy or profit is important, but we also look after the environment. And whenever we do a project, we are concerned about the social cultural implications of this. So yeah, I'm very much excited. Matthias?
Yes, Carlo, and I think you're a businessman, so that's really great because you can put it in practice. And today is as well the official launch date for our sustainableph.org website, where you will find articles, you will find the shows on there, reading material, inspiration, the team who is behind it. All of it is on the website. And now, some of you might wonder, how did it all start? Ellen, what's the story behind it?
So Sustainable PH is actually a community that consists of many volunteers, corporate professionals, business people, homemakers, students, and everybody that is actually dedicated to advocate for sustainable Philippines. A Philippines which promotes a country which says no to poverty, no to employment, no to abuse of our country's environment, no to uneducation, no to inequality, no to hunger, and much more.
Sustainable PH started, it was a vision of my dear sister, Colleen Davila Palaganas, who is a sustainability professional. But she had this vision to start a movement to communicate, to transfer these values that Ellen just mentioned to our community, to our society, to the Philippines as a whole. And yes, we are so very much excited because today is the official launching of this movement. This movement has grown from volunteers from different schools, professionals, business people, and also the youth. We now have a youth movement in De La Salle, in Ateneo, and indeed, a lot of people are embracing the concepts of sustainability, which is indeed good for progress and to keep a sustainable lifestyle for us Filipinos. So please watch this video, and thank you.
I hope for a sustainable Philippines to get to the point where we ensure ecological integrity, clean and healthy environment, where we expand economic opportunities in agriculture, fishery and forestry, and when we ensure a people-centered, clean and efficient governance. I think this is how I envision sustainable Philippines.
Hello, I am Karlo SD1, an undergraduate student of De La Salle University, Manila. And I envision a sustainable Philippines where every Filipino is responsible enough to take a stand and to take action on the current state and the future fate of our country, particularly the environment and its people. I envision a sustainable Philippines where every Filipino is walking on the same path and working on the same goal, to nourish the environment and make this world a better place, not just for our own generation, but more especially for the generations to come.
A nation that is willing to work with nature to create a brighter future.
A sustainable Philippines is when every Filipino works for the good of the country, economically, socially, and environmentally, making it a better place to live in forever.
A sustainable Philippines will mean self-sufficiency in food, clean energy, and clean potable water everywhere. Plastic production, usage, and disposal will be better handled. Pollution will be at levels that do not adversely affect the health of people, animals, and plants. Lastly, the government will truly be focused on the needs of the people in all respects so that there is less waste in fuel, time, and health.
I would like to see Sustainable PH catalyze a movement of responsible stewards who conserve and preserve the rich natural resources of the Philippines so that every Filipino can have access to basic human needs of food, clothing, and shelter, so that every Filipino can have an equal opportunity to thrive and flourish in his own country, because we are Sustainable PH.
My future vision for a sustainable Philippines is that we can create loads of new jobs and a great economy from healing the planet, and the opportunity for our children to breathe clean air, have clean and fresh water, and harmony with nature.
I hope for a sustainable Philippines where everyone can have access to basic services like quality education and healthcare, and also enjoy clean air and environment, live in sustainable cities, and have decent jobs, and be protected by justice.
That was so good. That was so good.
I felt inspired.
Yeah. Guys, we heard the messages, the feelings, very innate feelings of us people yearning for a sustainable pH, and we are so excited regarding this launching of sustainable pH, because this movement now is put into motion, and as an inaugural show, our first show is actually the Greenman, who is which is Matthias is gonna host. And Matthias, I have a question. I know that you're a sustainability advocate, and through this show, Greenman, you wish to communicate your thoughts on sustainability. But let me ask you, being a German descent, being a foreigner, what made you love the Philippines and sustainability as a whole?
Yes, actually, when I was a youngster in my little village in Germany, my playground was the forest. And in those days, we didn't have the iPads or the phones, no electronic gadgets. And I was connected with nature from the early days. And I as well already believed at that time that after reading a book like Rachel Carson's The Silent Spring, we humans have responsibility to sort this one out. And when my late father asked me, boy, what job you want to get in the future? I told him, Dad, my job is to save Mother Earth. He got the top of his head. He looked at me, he said, boy, you can't make money from hugging trees. But I had to be true to my vision. That's why I studied chemistry and environmental science. And I was able to make a living from what I would call healing the planet rather than destroying the planet. And two critical moments that made me feel in love with the Philippines was 1999, first time visiting the Philippines. I was doing a 5-day training course on environmental management systems. And I got so much feedback like, oh, come back, help the country. You know, we want to move this green agenda forward, sustainability. In those days, we weren't using the concepts of sustainability already that much as now. And we didn't have the UN Sustainable Development Goals in that clarity. But I sense there is a passion. The Filipinos have a passion for nature, for God's creation, for what is out there. And if we can ignite this passion at a more scaled up level, then I think we can really be a difference. And finally, I fell in love with my wife, a Filipina lady. So that ultimately made me come to the Philippines for good, long term, even though in 1999 I got a glimpse of
Mm.
that ignition of a vision that I have to come back and contribute to this beautiful country.
Wow. So how long
I
do you
love
plan
it.
to stay here? You stay here with us forever, Matthias, in the Philippines.
Yes, I might have to go to Germany for a short while to look after my mum for a while in between, but long-term vision is Philippines, definitely. I
Oh,
have two kids
so great.
with a Filipina
Wow.
passport, right?
Okay.
Wow.
More reason to look after Mother Nature in this amazing country.
Yes. Thank you so much, Matthias. Ellen, you have a question?
Yes, I do, Matthias. Actually, I could totally relate to your story. I myself am also a foreigner. I'm half Brazilian, half Chinese, and I'm also married to a Filipino. So I totally know what you mean by the how passionate they are to be part of some a movement that really is for a better world. So I totally understand. So the question I have for you is through the German Men's Show and the platform of Sustainable PH, do you think you can effectively communicate the values of sustainability to the society? And also, which is your advocacy?
My advocacy is really that the change starts with me. And if we look at what we can do, we need to look at control and influence. We have control over our own lives. We can decide what we eat, how we live, what clothes we buy. So our choices as consumers can shape how society becomes more and more sustainable. I
Yeah.
hear a lot of times, oh, we can't afford to be sustainable because the green products are too expensive. Yes, that is partially correct. But if we get more and more people scale up the consumption of sustainable products, then the price will come down.
Mm.
So
True.
this is really important. And one thing I've noticed is we have a lot of people in the Philippines with health issues. Health issues comes from, maybe not too healthy food. So we need to go back to more green food, more vegetables, more fruits. And at the moment, a lot of that is expensive. So we need to have a shift in our consumption behavior to make the good things for our health and for the planet more affordable. So this is one aspect I want to focus on, how we can, with our money, whether we buy things or whether we invest things, be the change by putting our money into things that heal the planet rather than
Mm.
things that destroy the planet. But this advocacy shifts as well to our community, to our office, to our place of work, the organization that we work for, or the company that we run. Especially
Yeah.
if we are business people, we can have an influence, we can be the change. So let's
Mm.
look at our control area and our scope of influence. And I will share more later on in the show. What are the practical things that we can do on a small scale and how we can overcome this perception that often holds us back, that the small difference that I make doesn't
Mm.
make a difference. But if we all empower ourselves, our neighbor, our family, our community, and Sustainable PH can be a vehicle to really help with that. If we empower ourselves and it becomes a mass movement, then the change
Mm.
will be huge.
We will.
Wow, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. That was so nice. That's so true, Matthias. Change starts within ourselves. We may think that we are a little factor in the grand scheme of things, but actually how we think, what we do, no matter how little we are, can make a big impact in the society. And we are all praying, we are all yearning for a sustainable Philippines, a progressive Philippines. And we should know that it all starts from ourselves. And this is what Matthias will discuss more in his show, The Greenman. He will tell us how to take care, not only have a taking care of our work, have a good career, a good source of living. But also, while we do that, we do it in a way that we take care of our environment, we take care of our planet, we take care of our society. We uh, our culture, we take care of that too. So that is what we will tackle in the Green Man. Kindly watch this video to see what the Green Man is about.
Hey guys, my name is Greenman. I'm originally from a small village in Germany. I was voted greenest person on the planet in 2008, and my passion is to inspire people to live a green lifestyle. I myself try to live as green as possible. Electricity bill less than $10 US. I just created my carbon footprint, zero carbon footprint off-grid home. Green living, that's my business. In the morning, we look at our personal lives. In the afternoon, we look at what can we do in the office. What can we do as a member of an organization or as a manager or owner to take our organization, our business to the next level? Again, to shift from burden to planet to healing the planet through product innovation, energy efficiency, reduction of consumption, adding more to the bottom line and coming up with innovations that help the planet. That's what green living and working is all about. To look at where can I be the change and be the difference.
So yes, welcome all of you to our second part today, the Green Man Show. And really it's all about what are the practical things that we can do to shift towards sustainability, to shift towards environmental and social healing of the planet, our communities, and shifting our lives from potentially currently being a burden to being a beneficial healing impact on Mother Earth. Now, I grew up in rural Germany, as I mentioned already, and as a kid, I already had this vision that I really wanted to make a difference in the future. And I love the fact that we are now living in times where increasingly we have that possibility, even when it comes to jobs, when it comes to earning a living, we can actually do that increasingly through healing the planet. Last night, I did a show for youngsters, mainly in Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and the focus was on sustainability and ESG from a business perspective. I shared with the audience that investment funds are actually increasingly putting money into those companies that are doing the right thing environmentally and socially as well. Where I can be the change and be the difference, that's one of the questions that's coming in. You can actually start putting questions into the comment box. I will start with really looking at the small personal things. My concept is, let's start doing things where we have control and influence at home. What can you do at home? Now, our intent is to really make our lives as sustainable as possible, as healing as possible. But the obstacles that we have is sometimes, oh, it's difficult, it's costly, I can't make a big difference. But usually when we look at small things that we can do, particularly things like if you save on your electricity bill, you actually are able to help the planet and save a lot of money. You can reduce your carbon footprint. Now, the reality is, since the COVID crisis, we have all been facing with mainly working from home. And working from home means we are using a lot more electricity at home. My wife told me as well, after the first month of lockdown, when the shops were starting to open up again, honey, we are spending more time at home. We need more space. We need an additional aircon. And maybe in the past I would have said, oh, can we avoid that? Because that's going to consume a lot of electricity. But you need to be practical. And I personally, even though I was voted in 2008 greenest person on the planet, I don't believe we need to be perfect, because nobody is perfect. We need to find our focus of advocacy where we can really be the change. So when I was a bachelor living in Malaysia, I had an electricity bill of less than $10 US. Now our electricity is much, much higher, and it's gone up in the last few months because we are spending time at home. But as long as we are conscious of these things and we avoid excessive power consumption, and we potentially even use the option of shifting to renewables. Now, we in the Quezon province, where my wife comes from, we have already built a Bahay Kubo, and we will be installing as well a small solar system there in the future to do it. Now, if you invest into it, it's maybe a little bit expensive for some people because all the money is upfront. But if you can purchase renewable power, and this would be interesting for some businesses out there, the Philippines is one of the few countries where if you are a so-called considered contestable customer, like you're building 20-story building or shopping mall, you can actually choose whom you buy your power from. I realized that a couple of years ago when I was a consultant for the Asian Development Bank, and I was surprised how come they reduced their carbon footprint by 60% from one year to the other. Why? Because they had shifted to buying directly geothermal power that has a much lower carbon footprint. But coming back to our own personal lives, I believe that I, as an individual on this planet, should not have a burden on the planet. Every year, at the end of the year, I calculate my carbon footprint. Now, what is a carbon footprint? A carbon footprint is the accumulation of all the environmental impacts that you have calculated in one unit. When we talk about business, we talk about pesos or US dollars. When we talk about carbon footprint, we talk about carbon dioxide equivalent, CO2e. All the emissions that are triggered off through the food that we eat, through the transportation that we have, through the electricity bill that we have. Unfortunately, most of our power here in the Philippines still comes from coal-fired power plants. We need to shift that increasingly to renewables. 1 kilowatt hour from a coal-fired power plant is about 800 grams of carbon dioxide. 1 kilowatt hour from geothermal, solar, or wind is 50 gram carbon dioxide or less. So renewable has a massively reduced carbon footprint. So this is one of the things that I do at the end of every year. I calculate our family's carbon footprint and I buy carbon credits to make our lives climate neutral. Last year, my personal carbon footprint was 15 tons of CO2 because of flying to Europe twice. This year, I have hardly been flying at all due to the COVID crisis. Now, the crisis is very problematic. It's having a huge impact on society. It has put a lot of people out of work and really meant hardship for a lot of people. But at the same time, it's made us realize it's our human activity that are the main reason for the pollution that we will have. The reason why we don't have a clear sky. Wasn't it amazing how the skies cleared up when we weren't traveling anymore on the roads in the Philippines? So this is a very, very clear sign, the connection between human activity, industrial activity, and the pollution out there. One of the questions that just came in here, is it difficult to live green? You can make it difficult, but start with the simple things, the things that you are passionate about, and that you can get motivated yourself and your family. One of the first things my baby daughter, actually the first word my baby daughter knew was ayaw. I had to tell her, hindi ko maintindihan, because my Tagalog is not yet that well developed. As you know, I know Karlo, which I highly recommend to all the guys out there to save water, save shampoo, save time, save electricity. But the second word my baby daughter could speak was eco-brick. Why? Because she always loved helping me with eco-bricks. Now, the eco-bricks is like old plastic bottles where you then put your plastic packaging waste in there. It's not the solution for plastic waste. Number one should be avoid. Number two should be reuse or upcycle. And then number three would be recycle. So only then you would actually use the eco-brick as a solution. How can we start now living green? Start at home with observing what are your major environmental impacts. Look, for example, at your waste generation in the home. Get the family involved and try and measure how much waste are you generating. Now we are all using Lazada, right? And we have loads and loads of packaging waste coming in. Try and evaluate it. Can some of it be reused and recycled in your home? Can you turn at least some of the plastic waste into eco bricks that later on could be used for construction? One aspect of green living is as well asking yourself the question, do I really need this? Now, we are living in a society of overconsumption. And I have observed that as well here in the Philippines. A lot of people link their happiness with things, with ownership of new gadgets. Actually, in my opinion, the best happiness comes from things that don't have an environmental impact, like having a wonderful time with the people you love in a natural environment where you can just enjoy the beautiful Mother Earth, God's creation, and appreciate what has been given to us humanity. The biodiversity, the animals, the trees, the flowers. Soak it in. If you have a beautiful view of nature and you are there with your loved ones, that happiness lasts a lifetime. Having the latest iPhone or Samsung or whatever gadget and posting it on social media might not last very long if your friend very soon has another item. So I believe in asking the question before you buy things, do I really need this? Because 99% of things we buy, statistically, after half a year, most of them are already turned into waste. Now, how can we adopt to green living? It's a mindset change that we need. I actually wrote a book on green living and working. I'm happy to share with you a free of charge copy, PDF copy of my book. If you message me on social media, just search for Greenman Matthias Gelber. I will send you a copy of that book where I'm talking about how we can adopt green living in our life. First priority is start with your own lifestyle and ask yourself the question, how can I reduce my negative impact? And positively, how can I enhance my positive contributions to Mother Nature? If you save electricity, you are reducing the pollution out there and you are actually giving back to the planet because less coal or other stuff needs to be burned to generate the electricity for you. If you are reducing your wastage at home in collaboration with your family, then you can actually contribute to less environmental impact. And the question came in just now as well, what is your advice to the youth? The youth can shape the future. The youth can make the difference. If you guys, the youth of today, ask from the older generation who makes the decisions in politics and economy to put the environment at the core of the decision-making process, then you can really change society. Even though you are young, you can be the ones who really shape the future. When I was a teenager, my first environmental campaign I got involved in was a campaign against acid rain. In Germany, our pine trees were dying. Why were they dying? Pollution, sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxide pollution coming from chemical industry factories and coal-fired power plants that in those days didn't have pollution control as part of their technological equipment. That was not yet the norm. So all the sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxide emissions were going up into the air and they were coming back down with the rain onto the soil. And the rain was acidic rain. You know, the pH, you might remember that from biology or chemistry. If it's above 7, it's base level. If it's below 7, it's acidic level. So in Germany at that time, the rain pH was about 4 to 5. and that was destroying our pine trees. We young people, we were starting campaigns against that. And it went so far that suddenly all politicians in Germany had to do it because otherwise they were losing the votes of the young people. So even we can influence the politicians to put the environment much more as a central theme into their decision-making process. So suddenly all parties in Germany turned eco-friendly because they realized this is of importance to the voters. Even the Conservative Party in Germany, you might have heard of Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor. She's a member of the Conservative Party, but she is very eco-conscious in her decision-making. Yes, it can always be improved, but I have seen pictures of her going shopping and she doesn't use plastic bags. She uses reusable bags, even when she goes shopping. So these are some of the practical things that you as young people can implement in your own lifestyle, and you can choose a future career where you can make money from healing the planet rather than from destroying the planet. You can choose to work for companies that believe in sustainability, that practice sustainability. And you know what? The good news is the investment funds, the people who are actually managing the money, they are increasingly investing in companies that are practicing positive environmental and social activities. These are the companies that are getting more and more money flowing into them. So there are market forces. Even the Philippine Stock Exchange from next year onwards is using the Bell Award criteria on ESG, environment, social governance. In the past, it was only governments that was being judged. Now environment and social will come in play. One story I will tell you about the christening of my baby daughter. When we had that 2.5 years ago, I wanted it to be zero waste because first time attended a christening in the Philippines, I was a little bit shocked when I got a food plate and they put a plastic bag around it. And suddenly I was eating food from plastic. I'd never done that in my whole life. So I wanted to set an example with my wife for the christening of my baby daughter. We wanted it to be zero waste. We wanted it to be as eco-conscious as possible. We had it in the cathedral in San Pablo City, and the Laudato Si commissioner of Laguna actually was the one who was proceeding over the christening, and we used solar lanterns instead of candles. We as well planted 30 fruit trees. We had the christening party on Mount Panahao, and our caterer brought all the plates, all the cutlery, all the glasses with them. We didn't use plastic. We didn't use throwaway material. We even had, for the buko pie, bamboo straws. For every participant, a bamboo straw. And you know what happened? Nanai had never planted a tree before. Nanai had never been eco-conscious before. Since then, she has planted loads and loads of trees in Quezon province. Nanai made this, my pouch here. Can you see this? This is one of those Tetra packs that you tend to have. But this is one with a zip inside, and now it's a pouch. Business cards are in there. My bamboo straw, my bamboo toothbrush here. This is what Nanai has made now for family members. So we are collecting when we have things like this, and it goes back to the province. Here is a small one for the kids. The cousin of my children has started to sell this to classmates in the school. We have a Korean shop downstairs. So this is from my baby daughter. She drank this. Nanai turns it into a minute pouch. Another thing that Nanai made for the kids is a doll. Now this doll here has at the bottom a plastic bottle that was recovered out of the local river that would have otherwise ended up in the ocean. Now you might not know, and you can see here all of this doll is made from old recycled material. So that one single event The zero waste christening that we did turned into an inspiration for a lot of family members who had never before consciously realized that with small differences that we make in our daily lives, we can actually make a huge difference. Our christening dress that my baby daughter was using, we didn't buy it. We asked our neighbors who have a daughter 3 years older than my baby daughter, "Oh, do you still have your old christening dress? Can we borrow it for that event?" This shirt here, you saw it earlier on in the video, right? If you Google me, you see me most of the time wearing this shirt. This shirt is 8 years old. It's not the most eco-friendly material because it's polyester, but it's super eco-efficient. You put it in the washing, it comes out like brand new. I've been wearing this between 300 to 400 times. I don't hesitate to admit it here. This is eco-efficiency. That saves us again a lot of money, a lot of resources. The philosophy of less is more can be a very powerful way of making our lives more sustainable. And can you support the local community? Can you buy from local shops? Can you buy from some indigenous communities that have their own old ways of producing simple goods? For example, on the balcony outside in our home, we have plants. You see the plants behind me. My wife is great with it. I have a snake plant here. This is the latest thing she gave me earlier this week. Snake plants are great because they make the air cleaner. They are as well a little bit filtration system inside of your house. And this is made from a wine glass that has small chips. So instead of throwing the wine glass away, my wife turned this into a little item here for my office. And the plants I have in the background, they are helping to make the atmosphere more eco-friendly. Loads of us have actually started to use green plants and do planting since the lockdown, because that's a way how we can be connected with nature even in our own homes. Now, Alberto here shares, I experienced made a pouch using plastic wrappers of junk food. Yes, this is as well a possibility, and the Philippines has been great and very inventive in using old packaging material and turning them into new products. But you know what? A lot of these social enterprises are struggling because not enough people are buying these products. We need to support those people that are turning old products into new materials. Let me show you my backpack. This backpack here was made from Tacloban. You can see here the native material. My friend Joey Green actually got the local community involved. And this here is the plastic wrapping from the aid that was coming from other countries outside of the Philippines after Typhoon Haiyan. You know, the plastic bottles that were sent over there, this was the packaging outside. And he turned it with the help of the local community into backpacks. So, you know, if you buy a backpack like this, or now he does a similar project in Mindanao with the plastic waste from the ice cubes that people sell, those can be turned into bags. If you buy such a bag instead of a standard backpack, then with your money, you are voting towards a more sustainable society. So you are making a difference with how you are channeling your disposable income into products that are healing the planet and that give livelihood to local communities where people otherwise might not have big livelihood opportunities. Outside our house on the balcony, beside many plants, we have a sitting area that's very nice. It's made by local craftsmen here in San Pablo City from bamboo. Bamboo is amazing. It grows very fast. It needs very little water. It is very eco-friendly because it sequesters It absorbs a lot of carbon dioxide while it grows. So some of these native materials like bamboo, my friend Brian with a bum bike, amazing bicycles made from bamboo, those natural materials. And as more of us buy these products, then prices can as well become more and more affordable. So a lot of indigenous Filipino crafts and products, the more we can support them, the more we can help shifting towards increasing sustainable products and sustainable consumption. So let's have a look at some of the other questions here that are coming in. Let me see what you guys are asking. Feel free. Yeah, what can you advise us to adopt green living? Start with your home, start with your family. If you own the house that you live in, try and make the house insulated, passive cooling. Like one of the things that I believe that we have had here in the Philippines as well, if we go back to the traditional way of making homes, the Bahay Kubo. The Bahay Kubo doesn't need aircon at night because it's very cool. The night sky cools it down. But our homes, the modern homes, have not really been designed in such an eco-friendly way. So we plan to build our own house in a couple of years' time. When we are going to build our own house, our target will be to build it in such a way with passive design and insulation and air circulation to make it comfortable without the need for aircon. This should be one of the goals. Unfortunately, the rented house we live in is not that eco-friendly design, but that is a plan for our future. So adopt green living by inspiring yourself to ask the question, do I really need this? If I need this, can I buy something that's more eco-friendly? Can I buy from the local community? Can I buy by supporting people that create sustainable livelihood by using indigenous resources, by using resources from Mother Nature that grow back very fast? And the example of bamboo is an excellent one. Maybe you can start as well your own business. Can you turn some of the unused coconut shells into new products? Can some of the waste that we have here in the Philippines become an opportunity for a new business? Green living starts with you understanding your own environmental impact, trying to reduce it, and then influencing others to create ripple effects of positive environmental impacts, positive social impacts. Remember earlier on when we watched those visions of what a sustainable Philippines is about. It's as well about reducing poverty. It's as well about giving people a good opportunity for livelihood. It's as well about clean air. It's as well about clean water. It's the basic essentials in life, and they are as well captured in the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Have a look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals and try and identify how you can adopt them, how you can be part of implementing them. Now, you can make green living difficult or simple. Make it simple by starting with small steps. As I said earlier on already, nobody is perfect. The green man is not perfect. You shouldn't put yourself under pressure that you have to be perfect. You don't need to follow absolute benchmarks. You need to start with one thing. For some people, it will be waste. For other people, it will be electricity. For someone that loves technology, they might want to set up a small solar system on the roof of their house. For somebody who wants to start with the community, they might want to start a tree planting campaign. You know, it was a Filipino that inspired me to plant trees in Malaysia. I went in 2008 with my friend, the late Roger Yu. Some of you might remember him. He was the dad of the son that was abducted in this very infamous Dennis Rodan abduction case. he planted a forest in the Philippines. I asked Roger, why did you plant all these trees? And he told me, you know what, Matthias, one day I want my son to be proud that his dad planted a forest for him. 4 months later, I opened up my emails. I read the message. Roger Yu passed away in a car accident. I was so shocked. One of my best friends, an amazing Filipino that helped me start a business in Germany for eco-friendly building materials. He had just gone. But then I remembered the conversation I had with him. His forest is still there. His forest is still alive. He is not here anymore, but he left a legacy. The next day, I started a movement in Malaysia, Eco Warriors Malaysia, inspired by the late Roger Yu, one of your Filipino countrymen, who triggered and inspired me, a German living in Malaysia at that time, to start a movement that planted 100,000 plus trees in Malaysia. Can you believe that? That is the power of making a difference. That is the power of being the change. That is the power of starting with something small that might grow big. And if you can only convince and inspire one person, then you have already massively contributed to this ripple effect to grow bigger and bigger. Step by step, Conti Conti is the way how we can trigger and start green living for ourselves, for our family, for our community. Now, Justin just asked the question, how can someone living in a city with low economic resources reduce their impact? Usually, people with lower economic resources are less of a problem because they don't buy unnecessary things. Their electricity bill is usually very modest. But those are the people as well that usually are creative in how we can reuse things. So the idea of having limited economic resources, being thrifty and being eco-conscious can work hand in hand. The more often you reuse something that you buy only once, the more money you save by not having to buy something new again that is being thrown in the bin. As simple as during this COVID crisis, I don't use throw away masks, disposable masks. I use reusable masks. Our whole family uses reusable masks. We wash them and we reuse them again and again. That saves us money and it helps the planet. So this perception that you need to be rich to afford green products and only then you can live a sustainable lifestyle is not correct. Those people actually with less resources at their fingertips have often a much lower environmental impact. Is it more sustainable to shop online or go to the mall? Good question, Alexis. That really depends. It's difficult to say. If you go to the mall and travel very far to the mall, buy only one product and have loads of packaging around it, it might have a higher environmental impact. But if you go to the mall, you have your own reusable bags and you that is one of the things here in the Philippines. The good thing is we often use paper bags instead of plastic bags. But I always tell people when they want to give me a paper bag, I make a little bit of a dramatic scene. Why? Just so to give a fun educational impact. When I go to 7-Eleven and buy something, and they want to put it in a paper bag, I say, oh, no, save the tree. Don't cut the tree. Because where does the paper come from? It comes from the tree. So I say, no, save the tree. Because to make that paper bag, a tree was cut. So I hope that some of them kind of remember this crazy foreigner who asked them not to give them a paper bag. So if you order individual items online and they get transported to you with loads of packaging, then obviously we have a very high impact in terms of plastic and packaging material. So in most cases, particularly individual item ordering, the online will be a higher environmental impact. But I have seen that here in San Pablo City, there is already an ordering facility online where you can basically order food items and other things in an aggregated way. And they come one time and bring it to your home, and they just put it all into one carton box. And that carton box you can reuse. So that is definitely a fairly eco-friendly way of doing online shopping. But buying individual items on Lazada and having them all individually shipped to your home with loads of packaging, that's not so eco-friendly. But sometimes you got to do it if there's no other option. Now we have a question from Colleen coming in. How can we encourage to lessen our use of sachets, and what can be the alternative? Now, this is something that requires continuous discipline and education. Most people buy the sachets because they think it's the cheapest way of buying it. But actually, the price per unit is much higher when you buy sachets than when you buy it in higher volumes. So this is one thing we need to communicate. I had to do that here in the family as well. Family members that love to buy sachets, I told them, let's try and buy it in higher volume packaging, if possible, even in reusable packaging. There have been a lot of shops popping up. For example, I used to go when I went to Manila before the lockdown. I am an advisor to the Philippine Stock Exchange on ESG. So I was always there in the mall next to the PSE tower. And I discovered on the top there is a shop where you can bring your own packaging and you buy by kilo or by liter without any packaging. It's actually cheaper that way, and it's more eco-friendly that way. I hope the shop still exists. I don't know because I haven't been there. I always used to use the bus, but now with COVID, public transport is higher risk than your own vehicle. So I have basically made the agreement to just work from home. It works fine for me. I have more time with the family. But really, to encourage people to lessen the use of sachets, we need to scale up the availability of shops like that. And we need to make the price of higher volume packaging-free purchasing much, much cheaper than the sachet price. And this is as well a call to the manufacturers. All those that are manufacturing and selling sachets, if you can help with education, if you can help with setting up the infrastructure to make the bulk purchase with zero packaging much more affordable and make the sachets more expensive, then consumer behavior step by step will change. Conti, right? Joshua is asking, what is my thought on blockchain technology and cryptocurrency? Is it really sustainable? Now, blockchain is really a technology that aims to support transactions without paperwork on a digital level. And I think if we do it right, we can help with carbon accountability, with carbon trading, with carbon monitoring. The classical cryptocurrency mining of Bitcoin mining was not very eco-friendly because it consumed too much electricity. I even went to a Bitcoin mining shop in Malaysia, an illegal one, because one of my friends was running it. I wasn't allowed to take any pictures. I wasn't allowed to tell anyone where it was, but his electricity bill was huge. Actually, they were even doing something to artificially reduce the electricity bill, if you know what I mean, because that is the big expense and that is the big carbon footprint. So classical cryptocurrency mining is not good for the planet. But there are now cryptocurrency and blockchain protocols that are much lower in carbon footprint. And these are the ones that we should be supporting. And for example, I'm a member in the in a climate change related blockchain association that is supported by UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, that wants to use blockchain technology for exactly that. helping with the process of accounting for CO2 related emissions that are bad for climate change, that threaten our future. And particularly when we look at climate change, now through COVID, we have learned how much this can threaten our society. COVID might be reversible. Climate change, if it goes above 2 Celsius, will be irreversible. And it will hit particularly us like archipelagos like the Philippines very hard. Now, Carolina is asking, how should health facilities, clinicals, hospitals, health centers deal with 1,000 of plastic box products that they use, like syringes, gloves, on a daily basis in order to become a green facility? Now, this is very difficult actually, because those items are already considered special waste. You can't really recycle them easily because of the contamination, potential contamination. There are different ways of dealing with some of it. I think there's an autoclave technology that has been successfully used to tackle some of these issues. I have seen as well a technology from Malaysia, which is pyrolysis. It's not incineration. I'm not a friend of classical incineration because it has too much emissions coming from it. Waste to energy is as well not always the best eco-friendly option, but I think the pyrolysis solution, decentralized, maybe even hosted in the facilities of a big hospital, can be one of the most efficient ways of dealing with it. We can't ask hospitals at the moment to not use disposable materials, especially in high-risk areas. We need to live with that in the pandemic, but we need to find effective ways to dispose of it, not just in the normal household waste. Actually, this is one of the big long-term threats we have in the Philippines. We have a lot of waste disposal sites in the Philippines that are not sanitary landfill sites. In 10, 20 years, the heavy metals in there might go into the groundwater, become contaminated leachate. They might threaten drinking water supplies. So there's a lot of liabilities that we are creating by currently not having an effective system in place. So those are very, very complex issues. There are no simple solutions, but step by step, when we look at general waste issues, the first priority we should have is refuse and reduce, and then reuse, upcycle, recycle. Something as simple as this: give a waste material, a waste product, a second life with an innovative, fun, entertaining upcycling option. So any more questions coming from our audience? You've asked a lot of interesting questions, from simple green living to healthcare to blockchain. My next Greenman show in 2 weeks' time, it will be every 2 weeks. I suggest I do it on air quality outside, air quality indoors, because it's a very hot topic at the moment. Particularly, it's linked with the COVID threat as well. If you don't have fresh air coming into your building, particularly your office building, there might be a higher risk of COVID-19 infections, because if there's no air circulation, fresh air coming in, then the particles, the airborne particles, will be recirculated in the building. There was a study done in a meat factory in Germany where over 1,000 people got infected by COVID-19, and the main reason was the air circulation system was just recirculating the air through the whole building. It was not bringing in fresh air and pushing out old air. That was the main reason why so many people got infected. So your level of CO2 in a building gives you an indication of whether you have fresh air in the building or not. We humans breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. Our plants do the opposite. They breathe in carbon dioxide, they breathe out oxygen. So this is the photosynthesis. And air quality, indoor and outdoor air quality, are great subjects at the current time we can talk about, we can learn from, that can help us actually as well increase our health and wellness. So it's a topic both for our families and for our businesses and for our office spaces. Here at home, when my baby daughter was born, I bought myself an indoor air quality monitoring tool because I wanted to make sure that we do not have too many toxic chemicals here in our home. And it happens again and again. When my wife commissioned a local small furniture company to make a new bed for us, we told them use eco-friendly material and don't paint it with solvent-based varnish, the aggressive smell. But then when it came, I could smell the solvent. They had put a varnish or a paint on it, and that was exactly what I wanted to avoid. So I left that bed outside of the house on the balcony for a couple of weeks, and then I brought it in and I measured with my indoor air quality monitoring tool the levels of volatile organic compounds. This is the particles that can evaporate in the air, and they are toxic. They are very unhealthy. Some of the studies of COVID-19 mortality has as well shown that air pollution, indoor or outdoor, or the exposure to air pollution has an impact on the mortality of people that get hit by COVID-19. So air quality, I think, is a very interesting subject for the future. Then how businesses can go green is one of the subjects I would like to cover in the future. Then I would cover as well how you can go green with your family in a lot more detail. Veronica is asking the question, how can we encourage churches to stop the use of disposable coffee cups and styro containers during their events, since even their pastors are into it? Now, suggest zero waste events with non-disposable items. And the best way to start that is that when you go to church, you bring your own mugs and your own reusable cutlery with you. Some people might be reluctant to use something for hygienic purposes, especially now during COVID. But if you bring your own and you then take it back home and you wash it back home again, and only you have used it, then it should be safe and hygienic. So start with being the example. Start with being the change, and then encourage other people to be the change. Even though at this point in time, everybody else uses disposable materials, you can start with turning up with non-disposable materials. And you can encourage others. And maybe you can even find a sponsor that then sponsors the reusable cutlery set. When I gave a talk for one of the large listed companies in the Philippines on sustainability, and they had their clients there, at the door, before everybody went home, that was last year, when we were still doing those events, every single participant got a beautiful set of reusable cutlery made from bamboo. Made here in the Philippines, a wonderful set that you can easily carry with you and wash, with a straw as well, with a cleaner for the straw, with a knife, with a fork, beautiful. So be the change, start triggering off that campaign, and then maybe find a sponsor, or if you have a great event. When we had as well the christening of my baby daughter, here, this is the mug that we had there. Celebrate Princess Athena, that is the name of my baby daughter. And then we had a slogan on the other side, go green and help our environment. Or what is go green and help save the environment. So this was the memory of our christening. So with that, we actually passed on the message. Here is my coaster. My coaster is from my friend Harit the Green Carpenter from Malaysia. He made this coaster from old industrial wood pallets. And now this is one of his best-selling products in his green factory shop. So some people's waste can be other people's livelihood opportunity. So you can start triggering off those kind of actions. So yeah, I think I covered a lot of ground for today. Maybe your take-home message is you are the change. Don't worry about those obstacles. Just start being the change with things that help the planet and help people with more sustainable livelihoods. Remember the example of my friend, the late Roger Yu, the Filipino that inspired me to start something in Malaysia that planted more than 100,000 trees. And be focused on your conviction. Remember the story that I told earlier? When I was a teenager, my late father told me, you can't make money from hugging trees. Get a proper job. You can't make a living from saving the planet. Believe in your mission. Believe in your path. Find ways how you can shift your own life, your family's life, your community's life, your church lives, and together we will shift this nation towards a more and more sustainable Philippines. I am here to support that path. We are here to support that journey. Thank you, Colleen and Kathy in particular as well, for inviting me to be part of this movement. I'm really happy to be part of it. I can chip in my own little input. I'm looking forward to see you guys again in 2 weeks' time for the next Greenman show. Be the change. Conti Conti. Help the environment and help the people for a more and ever increasing sustainable Philippines. Salamat po.
Hey guys, my name is Greenman. I'm originally from a small village in Germany. I was voted greenest person on the planet in 2008, and my passion is to inspire people to live a green lifestyle. I myself try to live as green as possible. Electricity bill less than $10 US. I just created my carbon footprint, zero carbon footprint off-grid home. Green living, that's my business. In the morning, we look at our personal lives. In the afternoon, we look at what can we do in the office. What can we do as a member of an organization or as a manager or owner to take our organization, our business to the next level? Again, to shift from burden to planet to healing the planet through product innovation, energy efficiency, reduction of consumption, adding more to the bottom line and coming up with innovations that help the planet. That's what green living and working is all about. To look at where can I be the change and be the difference.